Welcome to a journey through the life of one of history's most formidable leaders. Prepare to witness the triumphs and trials that forged an unbreakable spirit. Born into the aristocratic splendor of the late Victorian era, a young boy grows up in a world of privilege and expectation. His childhood is marked by distant parents and rigorous schooling, shaping a rebellious yet determined character that would later define his leadership. Educated at elite institutions, he struggles academically but excels in subjects that capture his imagination. His early letters reveal a keen interest in military history and politics, foreshadowing the path ahead. The strict discipline of boarding school life hardens his resolve. Seeking adventure, he joins the British Army and serves in colonial campaigns across India and Africa. Dressed in the khaki uniforms of the late Victorian military, he experiences combat firsthand, earning medals and developing a taste for glory and danger. Captured during the Boer War, his dramatic escape makes him a national hero. Newspapers across Britain celebrate his daring, propelling him into the public eye. This early fame provides the springboard for his political ambitions. Entering Parliament as a young conservative, he quickly makes his mark with eloquent speeches. His Edwardian-era suits and top hat become familiar sights in the halls of power. He champions social reforms while maintaining imperialist views. Switching parties to the Liberals, he serves in various cabinet positions, overseeing the Navy as First Lord of the Admiralty. His advocacy for military preparedness proves prescient as tensions rise in Europe, leading to the outbreak of World War I. The disastrous Gallipoli campaign tarnishes his reputation, forcing his resignation. He returns to the army, serving on the Western Front in the mud-soaked uniform of a battalion commander. This humbling experience deepens his understanding of war's costs. Returning to politics after the war, he holds various positions but finds himself increasingly isolated. His warnings about emerging threats go unheeded, and he spends the 1930s in what he calls the wilderness, writing and painting in retirement. As Nazi Germany expands, his persistent warnings about Hitler gain credibility. When war breaks out in 1939, he returns as First Lord of the Admiralty. The nation begins to turn to his experienced leadership during the crisis. With the fall of Norway, Prime Minister Chamberlain resigns. He assumes leadership as Britain stands alone against Nazi domination. His first speech to Parliament declares he has nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. The Dunkirk evacuation becomes his first major test. He coordinates the rescue of 300,000 troops while preparing the nation for invasion. His broadcasts rally British spirit, emphasizing defiance and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. As the Battle of Britain rages in the skies, he visits bomb-damaged cities and airfields. Photographed in his signature siren suit or formal wartime attire, he becomes the embodiment of British resistance. His presence boosts morale among civilians and pilots alike. His finest hour speech galvanizes the nation, promising to fight on the beaches and never surrender. Broadcast across the empire, it defines the spirit of resistance. The words become immortal, quoted for generations to come. Forging the Atlantic Charter with President Roosevelt, he establishes the Anglo-American alliance that will prove crucial. Their meetings, captured in photographs, show two leaders in wartime formal wear shaping the future of the conflict. After Pearl Harbor brings America into the war, he travels to Washington to coordinate strategy. His visits to the White House, always impeccably dressed in formal wartime clothing, help solidify the special relationship between the two nations. The tide turns with Allied victories in North Africa and the invasion of Italy. He travels to war zones, often photographed in military-style clothing or formal suits, meeting with commanders and troops to boost morale and direct strategy. Planning the D-Day invasion requires delicate diplomacy with Allied partners. His involvement in the final decisions, while sometimes contentious, helps shape the largest amphibious assault in history. The liberation of Europe begins. As victory in Europe approaches, he participates in the Yalta Conference with Stalin and Roosevelt. The photographs show three aging leaders in formal wartime attire deciding the post-war world, their differences already apparent beneath the surface. V-Day finds him addressing crowds from Whitehall, wearing his familiar formal suit and hat. The celebrations mark the end of the European War, but his warning about the Iron Curtain already hints at coming challenges. To everyone's surprise, he loses the 1945 election shortly after victory. The nation thanks him for wartime leadership, but chooses a different path for Reconstruction. He returns to writing, now dressed in post-war casual clothing at his country home. His 1946 Iron Curtain speech in America warns of Soviet expansionism. Dressed in formal post-war attire, he helps define the Cold War landscape. The speech establishes him as a visionary elder statesman on the world stage. Returning as Prime Minister in 1951, he faces a changed Britain and a nuclear world. Now in his late 70s and dressed in the formal clothing of the early Cold War era, he navigates decolonization and East-West tensions. Receiving the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1953, he's honored for his historical writings and speeches. The ceremony shows him in formal evening wear of the era, accepting recognition for his literary contributions alongside his political achievements. Failing health forces his retirement in 1955. He spends his final years painting, writing, and receiving honors. Photographs show an aging figure in comfortable post-war clothing, surrounded by family and memories of a tumultuous century. His state funeral in 1965 becomes a global event, watched by millions. The procession features military uniforms spanning eras he lived through, from Victorian to Cold War. Nations mourn the passing of the last great imperial statesman. Historians debate his legacy, savior of democracy or imperialist anachronism. His speeches remain studied, his decisions analyzed. The complexity of his character continues to fascinate scholars and the public alike across generations. Statues and memorials worldwide preserve his image, usually depicting him in wartime formal attire. These monuments capture the determined expression that became synonymous with British resistance during its darkest hour. His writings, particularly his 6-volume history of World War II, remain essential reading. The books, often shown in studies with period furnishings, continue to influence how we understand leadership during crisis. Film and television portrayals keep his story alive for new audiences. Actors don period-accurate clothing from Edwardian suits to wartime formal wear, bringing key moments to life for those who never experienced the era firsthand. The Churchillian style of leadership, decisive, eloquent, defiant, enters the political lexicon. Leaders across the world still study his methods, though few can match his unique combination of literary talent and political instinct. As the 21st century faces new challenges, his warnings about tyranny and the value of freedom resonate anew. The lessons from his era continue to inform debates about democracy, leadership, and national character in uncertain times. From aristocratic beginnings to global icon, his journey mirrors the transformations of the 20th century. The clothing he wore, from Victorian finery to wartime suits, marks the passage from Empire to Cold War, each era leaving its imprint. Thank you for joining us in exploring this monumental legacy. May the lessons of courage and resilience continue to inspire future generations.